I'm here to talk to you about how to move across country on a budget and give you some tips and ideas on what I did. So, to start, I wanted to give you a little feedback that I decided to move across country during the pandemic. My daughter, at the time, I think she was 16, and I decided to join my son in California. So during the pandemic, when everyone was working remotely, we were like, hey, let's just go ahead and move out there since we're already going back and forth all the time. Before we start, please make sure you like and subscribe. These are some of the ideas that I utilized. I'm a big planner, so for me, it was more about, hey, let me plan ahead. If I know I'm going to take this big jump, let's plan. So, about maybe 6 months into it, I decided to start saving up money, from my job. I do have a full time job. So, like I said, I was working remote. So, I started saving up money. So then I started to pretty much pay down all of my credit card debt so that I'll have credit or some available extra funds when I get there. I'll have something. So selling stuff online or through the apps actually became fun. So like I said, I would do each room, one at a time. Start with like the basement. I had like a three-level house, and the basement wasn't utilized that much. So I started to take the furniture and place that on those sites and see what hits I got. Now I sold everything from the pictures to just little knickknacks, kitchen stuff. People, will buy it. It's even if it was just $1. Yeah, again, it was during COVID, so a lot of the like safety and health issues, I would say it was sanitized, and what I would do is get Clorox wipes or Lysol and spray everything down before people decided to come pick it up and take like the payments electronically and not really deal with the cash on hand. Sometimes I would, it just depends, but it was just because it was COVID and it just made it, a lot easier, and people felt a lot safer doing it that way. Once I found out how much it was going to cost to start to ship my cars, like I said, I had two vehicles to ship cross country. Once I found out how much that was going to cost, I kind of had a idea of how much money I would need budgeting wise for the transportation part of it to get my cars out there. So then it made it a lot easier for listing my items for sale on like the Facebook Marketplace, OfferUp, Let Go, Craigslist, whichever. So what I started to do was go room from room, like starting in the living and dining room. We didn't really eat in there that much anymore, so it was kind of like easier to just like, oh, okay, I'm not going to need this dining room table. We have like another area, so let me start pricing how much things were going to cost or how much money I wanted to kind of make. And what I was planning on doing was selling everything, getting rid of everything, and just utilizing as much money as I could when I got to the location. Another good tip is to kind of book your flight ahead of time. That way you'll have kind of like a schedule to you can plan towards. That's what I did. So I knew I was going to move July 31st. So I knew it's February. I have, so many months to start preparing for that. So I did that. And so after finding transportation for my cars through one of the transportation services, what I did was, I asked for a discount since it was multiple cars. Just had two cars, but I asked to get, a little bit of money off for the second car, which helped a lot. And then I started to prepare for that. Like scheduled it maybe 2 months prior to me moving. I scheduled that so that I can kind of have that ready and taken care of. And I knew how much money I needed for that. But be careful about those transportation services, because some of them are just like, they're not legit. They'll try to take your money, especially it was in the middle of COVID. So a lot of people were just, scams. And if they were asking for credit cards up front and not, they just weren't reputable. Because I got scammed like that one time, and it's just like, yeah, no, I can't. You can't afford to do that. So just make sure you do your research when you do find the transportation, the people to transport your cars. Research. Make sure you check out the location where you want to live. If you have little kids, I had a teenage daughter, so I had to make sure that the school system where we were going to move to was great. I know she was pretty excited, but I didn't know about like what the COVID protocols were. So make sure you do your research on what area you want to move to if you're not really familiar with the area. We were kind of going out there blind turkey. So once you kind of find the area you want to stay in, if you don't have friends or family that live in that area, I would suggest getting a hotel, like an extended stay, because that way there's kitchen. You can use the kitchen area or Airbnb. We did an extended stay hotel, and that worked out for me and my family. And it was, I think we did it for a week. I scheduled for 2 weeks, and then, I said, well, if I don't find a place once I get there, then, I'll go ahead and just extend it or cut the trip short. Another thing that's kind of tricky is your transportation once you ship your car from where you are and when you arrive. So you kind of have to play with that. I got them shipped after we left. I just dropped my cars off at my parents' house, and they picked them up. And then I think it was like 2 days later they picked up the cars. And so when I was in California, we had like a rental for like a week until the cars came. But that was kind of tricky. That wasn't the plan, but the transportation service was like, oh, the guy couldn't be there on time. So that's why I said make sure you pick the right transportation service for your vehicles to get shipped, and make sure you check to see if you could the weight issue, because what we did was I packed our clothes for us to live off of for about a week. And then I packed the cars with all of the other stuff, like clothes, little stuff that I didn't sell. But yeah, we're basically starting from scratch. And that actually helped. So just keep that in mind too, that you might not have transportation when you get to your destinating city or before you leave. So once we arrived in California, probably 3 days into our stay, I ended up securing and finding an apartment for us to rent. And the good thing about what I said earlier, when I said to pay off your credit cards, pay them things down, so it does make your credit look good too. So when you start applying for stuff, you'll have better credit, and you'll still have that secured money that you've paid off on your credit card. So you should be good. And they had a lot of good deals as far as due to the COVID stuff. They were waiving security deposits, and first month's rent and stuff like that was half off or something. So we actually made out good, and it worked out just fine. So these just some thoughts to keep in mind when you do decide to take that trip or that move. And yeah, it was pretty scary but exciting because it all worked out. And hopefully this helps. So another tip is, before you leave or when you get to your arriving city, go hit up a Walmart. You're going to need the air mattresses to sleep in when you first arrive in your apartment, because you just sold everything. You don't have anything. So you need air mattresses, blankets, paper goods like forks, spoons, knives, cups and stuff like that, because you're going to be eating off of stuff that, you don't have dishes. You just sold everything before you move, but you have the extra money. So, that's just another thing that you should think about, getting your air mattresses. And what I did was put them in the cars that were shipped. So when my cars did arrive, we had the air mattresses to sleep on instead of like sleeping on the floor, and we had a few blankets, so we did keep that. Thanks again for listening and watching, and stay tuned for more information and tips.